Hello, viewers. I'm SB, and welcome back to Citizen Sleeper, where we've gotten access now to the refugee flotilla. And, I'm invested in helping these people as much as I can, but I have to say, I'm feeling like maybe today's dice are not going to be the most useful. So we're in a period of relatively low pressure. We don't have any critical ticking timers. For the moment, I think nobody in meat space, at least, is hunting us with murder on their minds. We have some stabilizer in our pocket and enough to buy more. I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling like we have our feet on the ground here, our feet on the deck. So, there's a risky endure action over on the Ember Song. Over here on the Ember Step, we have this interface repair. We can throw the 5 on this, since a risky, on a neutral outcome, a risky shouldn't do anything terrible. Oh, right. Flux data. I totally did go get this. I should remember to complete the threads that I start here. Hey, Peak, I found some of that weird data. Maybe we can figure out what's going on with the flux. Because it does seem strange. It's like an EMP that's only affecting, I don't know. It is a very odd phenomenon. Sleeper, come look at this. Peak is poring over one of the displays of the makeshift decoding suite they have set up in the Climbing Briar's cargo bay. On the screen, a clump of data pathways, like an ingrown root ball, has started to untangle. Okay, this is an existing node, corrupted by the flux event. It's totally twisted up. They glance at you to check your listening. But inside, you watch as the unwinding pathways leave behind patterns of negative spaces, like shadows staying behind despite their caster leaving. Is a whole other data set. Peak's eyes shine bright in the pale screen light. The flux event somehow seeds this data deep into the gaps in the node, wrapping them around it. I don't get it. This character is much less computery than the other character we played. Peak looks crestfallen. Okay, think of it like resin poured over an object, filling all its gaps and cracks, and then hardening into place. You watch the screen, the pattern of shadows becoming obvious now as each layer of pathways is pulled away. The flux event itself really did a number on unprotected nodes like this one. Most of the eye's systems are screened against radiation and interference, but these exposed nodes? Peak makes a ripping motion with their hands. Torn apart. Peak points to a thick tangle of threads on the screen. Look, here. It looks like it's been tangled purposefully, but it's actually that all the points within the node have been randomly rearranged. It's as if the node was a bag of ball bearings, and the flux shook them up. The pathways tried to account for the rearrangement once the system came back on, hence the tangle. Peak pauses as the node continues to unwind. Although, Peak muses, I guess it was less like shaking a bag of ball bearings and more like making them all simultaneously occupy a superposition of every possible position in the bag before locking them back into a new configuration. They smile sheepishly, but that's a technicality. So, okay. I like to imagine our character is trying their hardest, just like staring at the screen with a furrowed brow. It's like, huh. So does any of that help us, or Well, for now, not especially. It explains the damage the flux does to systems, but the method is an exotic one. Peak runs a hand through their hair. What we need to know is what's causing it, where's it coming from? Peak turns away from the screen, meeting your eye. And there's something else. Have you spoken with the refugees? Yeah, I think I met people. Peak lowers their voice instinctively. What they're reporting? Massive systems failures, cascading collapses of life support, of terraforming systems, total data corruption? Peak swallows. The flux shouldn't do that. It can fundamentally rearrange the structure of systems, especially those poorly shielded. But totally collapsing heavy-duty industrial systems, failsafes and all, it doesn't make sense. I mean, these kinds of systems are built for deep space, for solar flares and radiation. The flux might penetrate them, but any reconfiguration should have been repairable. Peak looks back at the screen, where the decoding node lies almost fully open. A shadow pattern of the negative spaces that existed within its scrambled interior darkens the screen, like a set of bruises showing the pattern of the object that made them. I need to look into something. I have an idea what might be causing this wave, triggering the flux, but I need time to research it. My fear is, this character's fear would definitely be that if I ask what is it, I'm going to get an answer I don't understand. So just, as always, eager to assist in any way we can. Can I help? Peak shakes their head. I'm sorry, Sleeper, but I want to keep this to myself for now. If you need something to do, the flotilla could surely do with the help. From what I heard from Ash, things are tense there. Yeah, where is Ash? Peak glances around the bay. Huh, must be out. I've been focusing on this, so I can't say I've noticed. Although the quiet is nice. They smile. Give me some time, Sleeper. Peak turns back to their console. I'll have answers soon enough, I hope. You take one last glance at the uncoiling node as you leave, the dark shapes it leaves behind somehow troubling. You try to shake them from your mind. There are things to be done elsewhere. Yeah, that is plenty true. Okay, so 6 cycles until Peak's gonna have something for us. So over here, it would be great to provide some more matsutake. Actually, that's a good question. Do we have mushrooms growing right now? We don't. And there is a safe action on this ship that we could dump the ones into. Yeah, okay. Maybe we use the 5 to grow some mushrooms? Because, we're still working on that stuff for Rico, plus it can help us with the food supplies, plus it can help us with... Oh, also, I need to eat. There is that, I suppose. I could just spend some money. We could go to Emphasis' place. And that's what I was thinking, is if we can get some more girls, we can give Emphas some food to cook with as well, which we know he was looking for. Yeah, I think I like that. Let's pitch the ones in here. You spend your time pulled in all directions and finish only 1 or 2 tasks. The scale of the work is overwhelming. It is a little. You join in with a team of Sauls who are going floor to floor offering assistance. The time goes quickly and the work well. Alright, well, we managed to get through a quarter of that. Let's go gather spores with our 5. Come on, positive? Hell yeah. And then we'll just jet across the ferry here, buy some food from Emphas, which is relatively efficient. Yeah, 12 cryo to cover 2 days is good. We need to bring him back 2 more caps if we want to help him expand his culinary horizons. All right, and then we'll just take a nap in the Haifa dorm, and we'll hit the stabilizer when we get close to losing the 3rd die. It seems, for the moment at least, we can take things easy. Yo, that's rad. The negative on collect spores is -2 energy, right? I really want to use these for for fleet work, obviously. I'm gonna go ahead and take this. We have 75% chance of walking out of here with a spore. Fucking of course. How many times have we done that now? How many times have I put a 3 or a 4 into a thing and gotten the negative outcome? It feels like it must be at least 75% of the time. So what thing? I kind of want to see what Aki's deal is. Let's spend these positives on Aki's ship. You notice a bug in the wind cycling system and manage to fix it. Aki gives you a knowing look. It seems like you're proving yourself. Do I want to throw this extra... Man. The thing is, I really do want to get the mushrooms growing again. I'm going to go ahead and use this at the spore gathering. We shouldn't have had to. I'm really frustrated with that going that way all of the time. Oh, we have mushrooms. Okay, we have mushrooms live, and I totally spaced. Well, that's fine. We'll deal with it. I'm going to go across and buy food from Memphis one more time, and then we're going to put some dice into collecting mushrooms so that we can plant these spores. And you know what? While we're down here, we're about to use our stabilizer, so I'm just going to buy another one. Yeah, that negative result was such a kick in the face. Okay. 331. Pretty fucking not great. There we go. The negative outcome, who would have thought? For real, it's incredible. It's incredible how bad our luck has been. Okay. So we got that done. More mushrooms growing. Sadly, nothing for the fleet. And I think with these dice, it's probably not really safe to do anything other than just support work on the Pilgrim Seed. We'll take our stabilizer tonight, and hopefully things will turn a little bit more positively. Negative outcome. Shocking. Okay, we finally managed to pull a neutral. Back to the climbing briar. Or sorry, the briar base camp, because the climbing briar itself is out there now. Okay. We're just going to be a little bit more careful about our energy levels. Wow, that's a lot of not very good dice. I'm comfortable spending the 4 as a 5 on unloading supplies from Saul's ship here. Or sorry, unloading supplies. Yeah, this is the stuff Saul shipped over to. Which one are we? This is the Ember Song. I appreciate the thematic consistency of their names. It does make them hard to keep apart in my head, though. Someone comes to help you unload for a while, making the work go quicker. When you ask their name, they ignore you. What's going on? People on this ship are weird, for sure. And then, yeah, I think we do just throw a bunch of dice in here. Well, we will one more time go and buy food from Memphis. All right, got ourselves a neutral outcome. Then a bunch of coin flips here. Alright, hit about expected value on all of that. I believe when we bring him the 3 Goral, he will make food for us again. Obviously, it's not all that difficult for us to turn some dice into some pretty good money when we need to. So I'm not worried. Yeah, we're in a pretty like cushy position here. Yo, look at the actually good dice. I think I want to help out at the dust houses with the really high dice. Just fixing bugs in their software. This is miserable work, by the way, if you've never done it. Just hunting down bugs and untangling other people's code. Alright, one more. Here's hoping we can win that coin flip so we don't have to spend the other 5. Hey, we did. Cool. Good luck. I see you've been contributing. Aki stands next to you at the dust house window. I was unsure what to expect when we joined the flotilla on its voyage to the Eye, but after the journey across the system, then the quarantine, then the flux reaching all the way out here too. Aki stops herself. Thank you. She bows a little. The other ships have only been interested in sending us supplies, but we grow all we need. She gestures at the dust house. What the dust houses need, that is the problem that concerns us. She smiles and turns to you. Shall we go inside? I would love to do that. I'm very eager to do that. Aki smiles. Come. She taps away at a panel by the window. Seems only fair that after your help with the support systems, you get to see what it is that you are maintaining. Aki leads you to an opening beside the window. You pass through a dark changing room. You notice Aki is sliding on an oxygen mask and visor. She looks at the swirling dust inside. Inside, it's just like Ember's Step. Thin atmosphere, constant dust storms. Nothing that will bother you. She passes you a mask. The dust isn't exactly pleasant to inhale, though, so take this. You hold it to your face. She leads you through a short decontamination tunnel with its fizzing panels of purifying light, then through into the dust house. Immediately, the wind and heat hit you. You feel the rough waves of dust scattering across your face and peer through the amber murk. Your feet slide on shifting piles of sand. Welcome to Step, or an emulation of it at least. Aki's voice sounds distant and echoey. The terraforming process only managed to provide a limited atmosphere around the moon, one which is slowly escaping. It's been like that since I was born, so I got used to the idea. You catch her bright eyes through the amber dust. So did everything else that lives there. You feel something hard beneath your feet, beneath the sand, like a coil of rope. Well, I'm just going to ask her, what's under the sand? This is Step Silk. It's one of the plants we established on Step. She kicks away some red sand. Like any bast fiber, it can be retted and woven into clothes. I'm wearing some made from it myself. It's one of many species adapted to Step since the Solheim collapse, which is why it must be preserved. She stares out into the swirling dust. It is as much a refugee as we are, and the dust houses hold hundreds of other species. You look at the pale, unassuming root, threaded thickly through the sand. Aki watches you silently. Had enough? It'll be easier to speak outside. Aki leads you back out into the decontamination tunnel, which blasts the dust from both of you with a burst of metallic-tasting air, and into the changing room. Aki hangs up both the masks, patiently awaiting your questions. Well, I mean, we kind of know what happened on Ember's Step, but I'd like to hear what parts of it she emphasizes. Aki pauses, pulling her shawl around her. She looks small and pale inside its layers. Steppe was already a doomed world, she sniffs. When Solheim gave the terraforming contract to Cybele, they believed they could build an atmosphere, but the moon's erratic orbit made it impossible to maintain. By the time of the Solheim collapse, the atmosphere was already fading, and Cybele's attention was on Ember's hearth. After the collapse, Cybele fell too, its researchers scattered across the moons, and any central organization lost. Since then, my parents' generation worked tirelessly to survive, to adapt what we had to the failing moon. The steppe silk, the other adapted species, are the life's work of the steppe's colonies. So, when the flux started to collapse our computer systems, corrode and destroy our life support, our water supply, our agriculture, we had to leave. Aki sits heavily on a nearby bench. Soon, the only traces of steppe will be on this ship. Aki begins to cry quietly. You are unsure what to do. I would kind of be... we gotta sit... Oh, I am curious about stuff, but we gotta be comforting first, right? Let's sit down beside her. You sit on the bench beside her as she sobs. You understand why this ship, why the refugees from Steppe, are so different. Their world was already dying when the flux arrived. Ember's Steppe is a terraformed moon. Partial atmosphere, established colonies, agriculture. And yet, when the flux events started, its people had to leave. You think of the eye, and the delicate web of decaying systems it rests upon. What hope does a ruined station have against a wave that corrupts, corrodes, and collapses? Aki interrupts your thoughts, rubbing her eyes. Not everyone left. There wasn't room to take all the people and fill the dust houses. My parents, their friends, and many others stayed. We carry the steppe for them. You left people is so, accusatory. It's really not the energy we need to be bringing at this moment. Well, perhaps there is hope. We learned not to talk of hope on a dying world. There is meaning for them, and any future they can build with the time they have. She stands up. I wanted you to understand the importance of these dust houses, of what they contain. She leads you back out into the corridor. If the flux events continue to reach out to the eye, we need to build protections to ensure their safety. Well, I think I can help. I'm good at building stuff. Aki smiles weakly. I knew it. You will be welcome on the wind's long shadow whenever you wish. These dust houses are already decaying. I have seen it. She stares into the dust. We had thought that they would last longer, but that last flux event... Help us. Aki looks at you. Please. I will. When you are ready, we will begin the preparations for reinforcing the dust houses. We need to be ready for the next flux event. Aki's eyes shine with the last of her tears. She takes a breath. I will see you soon. Aki drifts away down the corridor, leaving you alone once more at the viewing window, watching the ragged, delicate traces of the moon known as Ember's Steppe. So, okay, engineering work. I'm great at engineering work. Aki has devised upgrades that will protect the dust houses from both flux and their slow decay. She needs you to implement them. You work inside a dust house, layering the internal walls with careful plating. The rattle of the dust becomes a comforting backdrop. Alright. Peek's almost got something. The way Peek was describing the flux event, it seems like somebody is using it for cover. Somebody's using the apparent chaos as cover for a more targeted kind of sabotage that they are doing while it's occurring. That's my read of the situation. Very curious what we are going to actually find out is happening. Alright, managed to roll up to the neutral. That's pretty lucky. There is also still the matter of the ship mind that we need to put together. We have access to the Ord Fabricator, but I guess... You know, I do need to generate some money so that we can help out our friend who's stuck in the Neovend machine. Maybe that's something I should put some priority on, because I imagine that's not a super pleasant existence. This stuff matters too, though. It's tricky. We have so much to do. So many people need our help. You know what? Let me take a quick peek. Is the ship that sells ship mine parts in the bay? It is. Okay, right now. They're 48 each. We can only buy up to 2. So what we would probably want to do, and we don't have to pay anything right yet, it's just you have to have the parts. Probably what we would want to do is like work at the Bention. We can make some money. We have 3 cycles to put together all of this. We can come back to the other stuff later. That said, I probably would want to use at least this 6 at the refugee fleet. Well, let's put some of our lesser dice into the Bention. This is an engage action, so even this should be pretty good. Okay, yeah. Roll a neutral. Might get some free energy out of it as well. So 4s are a guaranteed 15 cryo with a chance of an energy bar. It's pretty solid. I don't know that we're going to see a lot of opportunities to do better than that. That gets us 1 fragment. I guess maybe I should have done haggle over prices first. Yeah, I definitely should have. If we're probably buying 3 of these things, I don't know exactly how much money this would have saved, but it's almost certainly got to be more than we would make spending the die on cryo, right? Probably. Well, okay, whatever. I am going to spend this 6 at the flotilla. We have some important, difficult, dangerous work that we want to get done here. Try to save these systems as best we can. Okay. It all matters. I'm still going to do the haggle before we do the next purchase, but I should have done it before we did the last one. Okay, so we're going to cross back over to here. I'm curious how much the haggle boost is. We can guarantee a positive outcome. Okay, so it saved us 16. Yeah, that is slightly better than using that die for work. Then we're going to use this die for work. Okay, we lost an energy, but we gained an energy and also gained an energy, so that's pretty good. Alright, and the next time merchants come back from this area, we'll be able to complete our ship mind. I'm feeling very productive here. And you know what? Let me throw this 6. I know we have important things to do on the flotilla, but let me throw this 6 at mushroom gathering. Aha! Clubhead caps. This is what she said she wanted. You hand them over to an eager Rico who immediately begins work on the samples. I'm going to pull a couple more of those. And for the moment, I'm happy to hand my Matsutakes over to the refugee fleet. Alright, Peak. Tell me what's up. Have you ever heard of can channels, Sleeper? Peak asks as soon as you enter the bay, as if you were already in the middle of a conversation. There are heavy circles under their eyes, and you aren't sure if they've moved since you last visited. The console they're working at seems to have grown, too, shadowing their slight frame in a wealth of screens and wires. Can? You mean for transit? So pleased to have the opportunity to sound like I understand what's going on. Yes, exactly. Peak turns to face you. Kielmani's active negation, the name of the effect used to transport trillions of tons of materials from the surrogate systems to the core. You might have heard of it in your physics classes. At XPR, they hammered the principles into us as kids. Can. Peak recites the definition as if in the classroom. A process of collapsing spatial causality along the Euclidean distance between 2 points by negating mass simultaneously at both ends of a geodesic curve. Essentially, can channels allow for the near instantaneous transport of raw materials between systems. They require huge volumes of energy, of course, and decades of construction, but once a can channel is established, it opens up a system for infinite exploitation. I did say that I knew what they were already. The backbone of surrogacy is what XPR called them. Peak shakes their head. They might not be able to send anything more complex than a rock through them. Complex people and machines are, shall we say, reconfigured by the process. But for raw, molecularly pure materials, Peak flicks a hand. Whoosh. Okay, where's this going? Because I did tell you what I knew what they were already. Peak pauses. What I was trying to find out was whether the Helion system, this system, ever had a can channel. Can channels are vastly expensive to build and to run. Not every surrogate system has one. Many use fraction drive ships to transport their materials to the nearest hub. But Solheim, Peak smiles. Solheim spared no expense when they established this system. So there is a can channel. Yep, Peak's eyes light up. They shut it down before the collapse, but they couldn't run the sender receiver station anymore. But it was there, and still is, as far as I can tell, closely orbiting our star. In fact, Peak grins, they've been building to this, I'm sure it's still there, because one of the issues with can channels is the massive waves of exotic energy they can produce when cycling up. The flux. Exactly. Peak's face suddenly drops. Someone is starting up the channel. Yeah, okay, see, this is, I was kind of wondering, it seemed like Peak was getting more and more excited, like they were about to introduce a solution to all of our problems, but this seems like solely a bad thing. Well, who? Peak sucks in a breath. That, I don't know. They start counting off information on their fingers. They need a lot of resources to do it, and they need to have people from the core systems, but there's no real large-scale extraction in the Helion system anymore, so why would you go to the trouble? Just to trigger the flux, maybe? Peak rubs their red eyes. The flux, the wave the can effect produces, is a side effect. It's a problematic one, but it isn't a destructive force. If it was, the core systems would never have been able to use it. So then why are colonies collapsing because of it? Why is it chewing through systems, the kind of industrial systems set up to function within the range of a once active can channel? Peak is getting frustrated. The moons of Ember have been terraforming since before the collapse. They would have had to deal with the flux, yet everything we've heard from the refugees says it brought down every system they had. Peak falls quiet, thinking it all through. Your mind drifts too, thinking of the can channels, those vast acausal highways that prop up the core systems and their endless appetite for resources. This system has been quiet for decades. Solheim collapsed, most corporations gave up their claims, and apart from the Celis ships that came to begin work on the sidereal horizon, no one from the core has come here in all that time. You shiver as you imagine the attention of the core, the systems of logic and exploitation that created your suffering, turning toward the Helion system, A floodlight turned to this dark corner. A shrill bleep catches both of your attention, and Peak rushes to a screen, one showing a crude map of the station. On it, individual markers begin to flare up with insistent chirps. Peak looks puzzled for a moment, and then their face drops. No, no, no. They lean in close. This doesn't make any sense. What's happening? The fluxed nodes are appearing elsewhere on the station. Peak pulls at their hair. I set this system to alert me to other flux nodes near the epicenter of the event, but these are everywhere. The hub, the low end, the shipyard. How can this happen? The only reason we saw flux nodes here is because it's the most run-down part of the station. They were barely shielded. But others appearing so far after the event... Peak turns to you. You're going to need to get me the data from these nodes, and quickly. I'll keep looking at what I have here, but I need to know why they are popping up everywhere. Right now you need to know this. Right now. We can talk more about CAN channels and system history when you're back. This needs our attention right now. Peak turns quickly back to the monitor, their eyes following scrolling screens of code spewing from the newly fluxed nodes. You leave quickly, but struggle to shake the image of the spotlight from your mind. You feel watched as you cross back into the Pilgrim Seed, on your way to a shuttle bay. You hurry onward, eager to outrun the fear. Okay, well that seems like bad news. Hopefully we're not actually on a tight timer, especially since I started that event when we were finished with the day. We will totally look into it after I get some sleep. Wow, okay. Really awful dice. Fun. So I was hoping to do a little bit more harvesting, but I'm very worried that we're going to get the negative result here because of how the game treats me routinely. So... I'm sorry, we want to get out of the greenway before I do that. We do have enough loose cash to buy food from Memphis if we want, so... We don't necessarily have to accomplish anything. Wow, 6. A 6 and a 5. Okay, cool. Yeah, I definitely don't have any other use for my 6s and 5s, so that should be fine. That's actually really harsh. Alright, yeah, I don't have any spare upgrade points just sitting around. Well, these dice are not very impressive, I have to say that. We could take a 4 over to here and be guaranteed at least a neutral result. I guess I'm going to do that. Alright. That's pretty good. We only need one more good die here. And then I think I do dump these other 3 dice at the Pilgrim Seed and go buy food from Memphis. Okay, it is no longer possible for us to get this done today. A couple of neutral outcomes would have seen us get there. 3 negatives in a row. What else could we expect? Alright, let's eat some food at Emphasis Place and then rest over here. And if we roll some high dice, we can use them to resolve the fluxed information situation as quickly as possible. You know, it's been a while since we slept in our old cold shipping container. Well, found a 5 at least. Alright, let's go get that data then. Okay, hopefully whatever it is we've learned here is actually valuable. And then we can definitely go throw some 4s at some of our other problems. Do I want to use... No, I kind of don't. I kind of want to save 5s and save the mushroom harvest for 5s and 6s, because we know how that goes if I try to do anything else. Alright, fingers crossed on the positive. Should have known. There we go. There's a loose crowd around the supplies you've unloaded, and a tense mood brewing among them. You sit nearby on the edge of the shuttle's docking tunnel, resting. Further away, crews from Ember's Song continue their lives as usual, coming and going, trading, discussing. There's a quiet efficiency to the hub, set up as a common space for the swarm of small ships from Ember's Song that are part of the flotilla. Unlike Hearth or Steppe, there is no one capital ship for this moon's refugees, just a mass of individuals traveling in concert. We told Hearth we didn't want their scraps. The jeering voice comes out of the small crowd nearby. You turn to see a gaunt, pale man wearing the industrial work gear you've seen many of the Song refugees wearing. You hear me? Well, okay, but these supplies are to help. He smirks. Oh, how noble of you. Coming out here to help us singers. Singers, maybe? It's probably singers, because, song. There's a rumble of anger around the crowd. Look, we agreed to join the flotilla for joint protection. We did not agree to Ember's Hearth using the flotilla to secure their control of the moons. You realize Peter's addressing the crowd as much as he is addressing you. With the cord on down, our crews are more than able to acquire what's needed from the Eye, what is owed as restitution for keeping us restrained. He pats one of the crates you unloaded. What we need, we will take. Okay, dude, but Saul wants to cooperate. Can we just maybe, work together a little bit? Saul is a farmer. Even the people of Song know that he was simply the sole survivor of Hearth's leadership. His authority means nothing. Peter looks around at the crowd. Hearth think they can buy us, but we remember the past. A rumble of agreement runs through the crowd. He smiles at them. Alright, take the supplies if you wish, of course. We're not wasteful. Peter approaches you directly. The crowd tentatively moves forward, and by the time he reaches you, they are already dragging away the crates and redistributing the contents. I'm not one for shooting the messenger, Sleeper, says Peter as he approaches. But we cannot concede to Hearth here. Not for a moment. I don't understand. Yeah, I can see that. Peter sits beside you on the docking tunnel's lip. What was your plan, Sleeper? Unload the supplies and wait for someone to start throwing them back at you? He nods at the crowd rifling through the crates, because that's what was about to happen. I don't know. They seem to like the stuff we're giving them. I'm not so sure about that. Peter shrugs. Well, what do you think happened to the crew of this shuttle? He shakes his head. They were chased out of this place. Okay, why did the singers hate Hearth so much? We, Peter says with emphasis, do not hate Hearth. We simply do not trust them. Do you know anything about Ember's Moon, Sleeper? Or were you planning to wander into this flotilla totally blind? An objective outsider offering help. He rolls his eyes. Okay, listen, I know a little. I'm getting defensive here. Yeah, a little is the same as nothing. Actually, traditionally, a little is worse than nothing. It is far more dangerous. Look, I'm going to assume you know the basics. The gas giant Ember has 7 moons. The 3 biggest are Steppe, Song, and Hearth. Hearth, right? Is the moon Hearth and the ship's Hearth? I don't remember. He winks. Now we can cover the 4 sisters next session. Steppe was the first to be settled, a contract old Solheim gave to the terraformers Sibel Systems when they first claimed the Helion system. That's way back when. Step was a testing ground, and like most testing grounds, it didn't turn out too well. A partial atmosphere slowly sloughing off each orbit, a dysfunctional ecosystem, and a whole load of dust-clogged settlers. The place is a miserable desert, long past its best before date. Yeah, Hearth. So Sibel moved to Hearth, where they redoubled their efforts. The subsurface ocean and some balmy tidal heating helped, allowing them to build a real atmosphere, a real habitable world, a fact that the typical Hearth colonist won't ever let you forget. How did Sibel achieve such a thing, you might wonder? Well, that's where we come in. It's that same old rule of surrogacy, the one humanity built our universe around. Peter claps a hand to his chest in mock pride. My moon, Ember's Song, is a sulfur-soaked rock covered in volcanoes, tidally heated by its inner orbit to sweltering temperatures. Exactly the kind of crucible you need to fuel a terraforming project. Energy, industry, fuel, Song provided the raw materials for Hearth. Peter grimaces. Willingly or not. And a crucible requires people to run it. Us singers, born into a flaming pit and asked to stoke it so others might live in a paradise in the making. That's what we had to endure, until Solheim brought everything down. Peter rattles off this speech from memory, and you wonder how many times he's delivered it. No Solheim, no contract, no Sibel, and no Sibel means 3 moons suddenly independent. It was a war, Sleeper. Sometimes hot, sometimes cold, and unsurprisingly, Hearth and Step came out of it better than us. Yet, Peter holds up a hand, they need us, Sleeper. They always have. And so we're the linchpin, we're the center around which the moons orbit, not swirling ember. We've resisted takeovers, sieges, and expansions, and now we'll resist this. Now, half the people on these ships think the flux was caused by Hearth, intentionally or otherwise. And I have to say, some cycles I agree. So before you come here to hand out supplies like a good soldier, maybe educate yourself. Well, okay, but what does any of that matter now? Peter shakes his head. Do you forgive crimes against yourself so easily, Sleeper? Would you return to the bosom of S&ARP if they sent someone to collect? That's not really the same thing. That's assisting in the creation of another crime against myself. Peter stares at the crowd. Don't presume to judge us. Okay, I wasn't trying to judge anyone. That was an honest question. I want you to imagine what it's like to try to live on an airless volcanic rock when every system that sustains you starts shutting down. He spits and wipes a sleeve across his mouth. We abandoned nothing. Some stayed, others left, but we will reclaim Ember as soon as the flux fades or ends. Yeah, we've weathered worse. So then don't you need the supplies? As I said, we will take what we need when we need it. Peter stares out into the Axis. There is no authority that we recognize here. Look, I won't keep you from the docking Axis, Sleeper. No one here has the authority for that. But watch yourself here. And try to remember the Eye is just another in the long list of people who have tried to control us. You are too stubborn is not a valuable thing to say. I think that this has probably given our character a lot to sort of chew on. That urge to help, that sort of like naive urge to help, without first like making sure that I understand the situation. It's yeah. I mean, this has cracked some things open inside of us. Perhaps we have some things to think about, so we just stay silent for the moment. Peter sighs. Look, we are many and we have many needs. Ships come to this docking axis for repairs, for requisitions, for friendship. You can provide these as well as any singer. If you want to help in your own name, Sleeper, not in that of Hearth. Peter shakes his head. You carry that name here, and you will lose all trust. Be as we are, act in your own name alone. Peter puts a hand on your shoulder and stands. I hope I didn't just waste my time here, Sleeper. And with that, he walks away, back to the shrinking crowd that is distributing the last of the supplies among the crews present. You watch them pass the food and water between them. No signs of conflict between the crews, just a careful distribution of resources. Peter chats with a few crews, each of them casting looks in your direction, ones that reveal little about the singer's intentions. You stand. It seems the tensions on the flotilla run much deeper than you expected. This won't be easy. Alright, so what is helping these people look like? One of the ships is trying to establish a mushroom farm to help feed the crews. Okay, we could help out with that. Another one of the Singer crews is looking for a ship mind to replace their flux-damaged core. Okay, yeah, no big problem. I'll just find you a ship mind, shall I? And unfortunately, we have to fulfill both of these supply requests in order to get the Singers to open up to us, it looks like. So that's going to be exciting. Let's go back to the Pilgrim Seed and throw this in here. 50-50 shot of filling the clock now. Is that 4 or 5 negatives in a row on this ship? That's rough. Okay, let's go rest. Alright, we found that 6. So first things first, let's go pull the other piece of flux data that Esh needs. I don't know if we really are in all that much of a hurry, or if Esh was maybe just like overstating a little bit, but I see no reason to delay. Its node is turned inside out, its skin writhing with distorted data. Alright, Hunter is watching, of course. So it's going to be another 7 cycles before one of these ships shows up. Yeah, we'll do our best. While we're down here, no, the best thing to do is just take one of these ones up to the hearth ship, use it. Also have a quick chat with I can't remember your name. Peak. Low end, hub, and shipyard. Oh, the hub. We don't actually have access to the hub yet. So the hub is up the central spire, right? It's as you might imagine from the name, it's the part in the middle of the wheel. And we haven't finished figuring out how to get up the spoke. Well, we can throw a 3 on this pretty safely. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We're real good at engaging. Also, Thrill Seeker, pretty great. You find your way to a service elevator that doubles as a bar. Patrons sipping drinks as the whole room crawls up the spoke. So next time we have a decent die, we can get there. And we've discovered PAS import and export. They'll take cryo, or they'll take Matsutake from us, 80 cryo for 3 batches. We can purchase a whole ship mind from them for 240. It's only like 96 cryo to purchase the bits needed for a ship mind, but obviously there's a considerable element of time involved. Yeah, alright. Next time we have a die that's a little bit better than a 1, we can just go ahead and finish that off. Even on a 3, we would be perfectly safe. And speaking of finishing off tasks, I knew it. I knew we would hit a neutral as soon as it didn't matter anymore. Saul finds you deep in the layers of the Pilgrim Seed, working on a patch for a life support vent. You hear him coming, his suit hissing as he does. I had to ask around to find you, he smiles. Seems you know the place better than me these days. Yeah, I doubt that. Saul nods. Well, I was on the work crew that built this thing, so maybe you're right. He winks. Saul holds out a hand. Alright, stand up and let me see you. He pulls you to your feet. I don't believe we ever had a sleeper on Ember's hearth. Saul looks you up and down. You sure do make me wish we had. Could have done with a few workers as good as you. He means it as a compliment. I'm gonna respond to it as a compliment. Thank you. Saul nods. You're welcome. It seems like I owe you some answers, seeing as you've been working hard on the pilgrim seed these past cycles. He leans against a crate, his suit creaking. What do you want to know about? I probably know more about the flux than he does at this point. Although, he knows more about, he knows stuff about its history, where it seems to them to have originated from and stuff. I'm going to ask about Ember's Hearth. Sure, he smiles. I mean, I spent my whole life on that rock, so I got plenty to tell. I'll save my life story for another time, he winks. But the short of it is that the Hearth is the first of Ember's moons, the biggest and most populated, which is down to the successful terraforming system Sibel set up back when Solheim owned the system. And how are relations with the other moons? I'm curious to get his view on this. Saul smiles. That depends who you've been talking to. You shouldn't mistake me for a politician, Sleeper. That's for others to do. He gives you a look. But Ember's Steppe was a test ground for the terraforming tech that Hearth is built on, while Ember's Song was the extraction site for the raw materials and energy needed to make it work. You can imagine that might lead to some tension. However, Saul holds up a hand. Despite what people might say, Hearth was never fully stable. Saul shakes his head. Sibel liked to talk it up, but after they pulled out and Solheim left, our people discovered they'd have to keep the systems running themselves, or the place would soon end up as dry as steppe. Well, Hearth was good as long as the evaporators kept running, kept filling our skies with clouds. But even after the collapse, our people kept those things going, turning that subsurface ocean into a periwinkle blue sky. Flux ended that, though, and when they failed, the rains failed, the harvest along with it. Saul pauses. And soon you have a city without a way to feed itself. That's when we, some of us, made the decision to set out on this place. He gestures at the pilgrim seed. And look for another future. Saul shifts on the crate. Anything else you wanted to ask? What about the flux? Saul sighs. That's what I imagined. He scratches at his beard. I can't say I'm an expert, but I can tell you what we witnessed on Hearth. At first we ignored it. A few farms had their automation systems blink out. Lifter suits locked up, bots reset their schedules, nothing we hadn't seen before. But then the news came out of Passero they'd been hit harder. The local network had gone down and no one could get it back up. It was rough for a while, but out in the farmland we were used to that. Passero? The capital of Hearth. Tens of thousands of souls made it their home. Saul grimaces. Anyway, we thought the flux was a freak event until the day they got the network running again. That's when the cascade happened. System after system corrupted, data lost. And then another flux hit, and then another. The bots were running circles in the fields. People had to be cut out of lifter suits like mine. And the city, well, I never saw it, but I heard from the others. Saul shivers. It only got worse from there. We couldn't seem to fight it. Cut us right open. That's what I know about the flux. Some folks say it came from the inner system, that it might be connected to some old tech there or something, but I never heard anything more than rumors. Soul scratches their beard. Sorry I don't have better news. So, yeah, I'm good for now. We don't need to pry about his history. Okay, he really wants me to ask, I think. I'm going to go ahead and take the hint. Saul squints at you. You want to know about me? I'm not sure that was part of the deal I was thinking of, Sleeper. Yeah, like you weren't begging me for this. Unless you're asking about this. He raps on the metal of his suit. In case you haven't guessed, this is the only thing keeping me vertical. He adjusts a shoulder piece. It's a lifter suit made for working in the fields. We had to modify it so I could walk around after the accident. And that's all I'm saying, Sleeper. Because to be honest with you, I don't know you more than that. You want to know about the flux, about Ember's Hearth? Go ahead, but don't pry into my life and I won't pry into yours. Saul lets the silence sit, staring hard at the floor. The suit seems to loom over him, looking more like a burden than a support. With the bars around his head, you suddenly start to think of it as a cage. Look, I don't mean to be rude. Let's leave it there. There's too many eyes on me on this ship as it is. I'd rather just slip into the background, thank you very much. Saul shifts on the crate. Okay, I'm good for now. Yes, I'm sure. Saul stands, flexing against the suit. He takes his cane in his hand. Well, keep it up, Sleeper. He smiles as he leaves. You're making me think I need to start making new plans for this place. With that, Saul leaves, and you wonder what he means. As he creaks away down the corridor, you can't help but feel there's more to him than it seems. That interaction's very strange, right? Where he asks if you want to know more, and if you say no, he's like, are you sure? Very weird. Okay, so this is just resolved. And with it, like, kind of our source of good things to do with a 1. We could just go work at the bar, right? Our skill points bump the 1 to a 3. And then I definitely don't want to take the coin flip here. We could work at the farm stacks for free. Or for free, with a 1. I think I would rather work at the bar. Accumulate a little bit of money that way. Okay, lucky. Let's go ahead and take a rest here. I feel like we're making really good inroads with the people of the flotilla. We are legitimately helping people out. We're trying to take care of our other business at the same time. It's a lot, is all. All right. That's a decent roll. We can get some work done. We can do some damage with this roll. So I think that is where we're going to leave it for today. Thank you all so much for watching. When y'all return next time, we are hopefully going to actually be able to crawl all the way up into the hub, see what's doing up there, and maybe finally figure out something concrete about all this flux business. And we'll see you then.